I mentioned in my first video that I had an out-of-body experience, and that is what I've termed as my spiritual awakening. And I'm going to tell you guys about that today. It's a little weird to talk about just because it's so crazy to me that it happened, that I feel like people were like, what? I'm like, come on. But it did. It happened to me, and I think it can happen to anybody, and it was incredible. So I'm going to share it with you guys, okay? At this point in my life, it was about 5 years ago. I was a hemp activist at the time, and still am to some extent, but I think that industrial hemp should be legalized. If you don't know anything about industrial hemp, you should look it up. There's 50,000 uses for industrial hemp. It's incredible what this stuff can do, and it's all natural, and it's ridiculous that we don't use it. Anyway, that's not the point of the story. At the time I was doing that, so I was getting sort of angry at the fact that it just seemed like people didn't want to listen and so on. And I was also part of the whole 99% thing that was going on at that time. I was angry, and my mom, in all her infinite wisdom, decided to say, hey, maybe you need to read this book again. And, maybe you can find a better way to get your points across and so on. And the book was a book by author Neil Donald Walsh. He's awesome, by the way, if you've never read any of his books. And it was called Tomorrow's God. So I started reading this book again, and I got to a part where it suggested a meditation. I chose to sit outside while doing it. You do some deep breathing in and out. It gives you more specific instructions in the book. You're supposed to imagine a portal opening in the top of your head and golden light rushing in, which is supposed to be the energy of everything around you, the energy of the universe. And as you inhale, it fills your entire body, and as you exhale, it runs through your body and out through your feet and back out into the universe, thus creating a cycle. So I did my deep breathing, I got into the thing, whatever. At some point, I just decided I was going to try to connect with something. I kept hearing this bee buzzing around. So I happened to open my eyes, and I looked down on the deck where I was sitting at my mom and dad's house, and this bee was facing me, just sitting there. And it sat there for a good couple minutes, just kind of looking at me, which is not to say unheard of, but just sort of odd, I thought, for a bee to just kind of hang out and look at me. So I decided, I was like, all right, I'm going to try to connect with this bee. That was my first initial thought. And I tried to connect with this bee, and I closed my eyes, and the bee kind of flew off, and I feel like I can see flashes of things flying by me, and the flutter of insect wings. I can't tell at this point if I was really connecting to it, or if it was just my mind, imagining myself connecting to it. So I was kind of like, all right, whatever it is, I just need to stop that. I'm not going anywhere with it. I'm going to try to lock onto something that's more concrete. There's a dog barking behind me and up to the left, up this little hill beside my mom and dad's house at the neighbors inside of this building, and it's barking continuously. I was like, all right, well, it's making a lot of noise, and it's in one spot, so I can hone in on it, and I'll try to see if I can connect with this animal. So I did this for, I don't know how many minutes, to be honest. When you're in deep meditation, you kind of lose track of time. But I did this for a pretty good while, and what happened was insane. Boom. Snapped out of my body. It's completely out of my body. And I was standing on the hill in front of the barking dog. This wasn't something I imagined. It wasn't like I was seeing myself standing there. I was literally had what I've now come to know as my astral body. So I was standing there in front of this dog. The crazy part is I still have complete awareness of myself sitting in the chair on the deck. So I'm in two places at once. And there's several interesting things going on here. As I look down at myself standing in front of the dog, I'm solid, but I'm almost sort of translucent-esque, and I'm not overweight. I look like myself, I feel like myself, sort of, but I just sort of look like an average person. and I always thought that was interesting. This was the first time that I realized that I'm not my body, that there's something else there. You know what I mean? It's not just a body. The body, like I mentioned in that first video, is just a tool that we use. You know, this is what has led me to believe this. It's through my own experience that this is the experience I was speaking of. There's also in this a third point of view. I am floating high up above, and I can see both myself sitting in the chair and myself standing in front of the dog. Now, I have read in several instances that memory can do that, where you will remember something from a third-person point of view, where you will be outside yourself remembering it. So I don't know if that's my memory of it. I kind of think that it is, but that's how I remember it when I think about it, as having that third perspective. I actually talked to someone else who had an out-of-body experience as well during a car accident, and they had the same sort of remembering of their experience, that there was a third point of view. So that's where I'm at. I got myself in the chair. I'm fully aware of my body. It's just like I'm sitting there with my eyes closed. It's like my mind is still in my body. Everything's there, but I'm also over there. It's insane. So I'm looking at this dog barking. I finally decide, all right, I want to try to go closer. I want to see if I can take this, like I said, what I've now realized is my astral body, and project it into this dog. I focus, boom, I'm inside this dog, looking out through this dog's eyes. It wasn't like I overtook the dog is still there and everything. It's just I'm in there with him, and it's like he knew I was there. Like I can still hear him barking and everything, but it's like I don't know if you would say our souls intermingled or whatever, however you want to term that, but this creature knew that I was there with it. And it was incredible. I think this sort of overwhelmed me. I couldn't believe this was happening, and boom, I snapped back into my body. And then it just keeps getting crazier. As I'm sitting there and I open my eyes, first of all, I start tearing up, and I just start crying. I mean, this was a experience that I had wanted to experience for some time, of being able to realize that yes, I'm not just my body, because these were things that I had thought of before, through books I had read and through things I had seen and so on, and you know, it really resonated with me, and I always thought that was true. But now all those truths are concreted for me, and they're coming forth and saying, yes, this is true. You know, you've just experienced it. You've had this experience now, and it blew my mind. As I look around me, it was like I could feel it so strong that I could see it, but it wasn't actually there. I wasn't really seeing anything, but the feeling was so strong that it gave me a visual sort of sensation. It's the only way I can describe it. This is like one of those things that it's so hard to describe unless you've experienced it, that I can say as many words as I want, and it's probably still not going to give you the full picture. But anyway, I can see energy or feel energy flowing in everything around me. There's this giant tree that sits next to me and where I'm sitting at, and I can see so much energy coming out of this tree and flowing out of the roots. And even in supposed dead things like the boards and the deck, you know, from cut down trees, you know, there's energy in all that stuff. And as I looked further down the street, because from where I'm sitting, you can see we're kind of up on a hill and there's sort of a valley, so we can see pretty far. And it's like, the further I looked, it was like doom, 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 doom. It's like I could see energy. It stretched all the way out as far as I could see. It was incredible. So this overwhelms me even more. And I this time I really begin to I'm like, whoa, okay, really crying at this point. I decide, all right, I have to go inside. I got to go figure out a way to contact Neil Donald Walsh. This is what I decided I had to do, because he was the guy whose book I was reading when this happened, and I was like, I have to go do this. I have to talk to him. He's going to be not that he's going to tell me anything, or not that I'll even be able to get a hold of him, but that was where I was. So I ran back to the computer room, and I got on the computer, and I ended up looking at this website of his, and I found the website, and on there was a thing called the Declaration of Oneness, and it goes through all these things to say, you felt this, you felt that, or whatever. And it was basically talking about feeling connected to everything around you and feeling like you're one with everything. Of course, I just had this overwhelming experience. Yes, absolutely, I am declaring that I am one with everything. So I, of course, signed the declaration. When I sign it, you can leave a comment. When I left a comment, this is the closest thing that I can describe as some sort of divine inspiration. When I was writing this comment, and I don't know what I said, to be totally honest with you. As soon as I sent it, I tried to go find the comment, and I don't know if it takes a while to load or if there's so many people on the website that it was already gone, but I could not find it. So maybe one day I'll be able to get someone from that website or something to track down that comment for me, and we can find out what exactly I said. But the experience is more really what I'm focusing on. And what happened was I started typing the first kind of sentence in my declaration, and then it was like I got this tunnel vision. I could still see everything around me, but it was like through a glassy, sort of wavy light that literally was right here, zooming me straight into the computer keyboard. Not the screen, but the keyboard, because it was just on my hands where they were typing at. It was insane. It was like I didn't really know what I was even typing. It was just like I was typing furiously. I'm done typing whatever I needed to type, and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And I think I was just so overwhelmed by everything that was going on that I was just like, I hit send or whatever. I wish I had copied it and pasted it somewhere, but that didn't happen. So again, I start getting tears in my eyes. I can't believe this is happening. I stand up and I sort of pose a question to the universe. I ask this because everything any kind of wisdom I've ever gained has been through books for the most part. So I sort of asked this question to the universe. I was like, do you want to use me to write a book? And I didn't hear the sound of yes. It was like I was hit in the chest with this overwhelming feeling of yes, and then it just washed over my body, and it actually knocked me back a step. And of course the waterworks started again, and I'm just like, I can't believe this, it's just incredible. And that was 5 years ago. I still haven't written that book. So sorry, universe. I think the thing that has been holding me back in writing the book is that I always felt like I wasn't ready, that there's always going to be some more wisdom that I need to find before I can actually sit down and write a book. And I'm realizing now that the wisdom is there. The wisdom that I need to share is there. And if any other wisdom comes along later, then I can just write a follow-up, right? I'm trying to write that now. Like I said, who knows how many times I've attempted to write it, and I just never felt like it was. I think what it was for me is that with Neil Donald Walsh's books, they are a conversation with God or with a higher power. It's literally him talking and then someone answering him, and he says through inspiration or whatever. You just have to read the books to quite fully understand. I guess what I was expecting was the same sort of experience that I had when I was at the keyboard, that I was going to have this sort of divine, overwhelming inspiration, and that's how I was going to write my book. And I just never have gotten that again. And a lot of that probably has to do with what I think is my horrible diet and lack of meditating and lack of exercise. At the time when I was having that experience, like I mentioned in the first video, I was doing all of those things on a regular basis. That's what I'm trying to get back to now, and hoping that everything will come to me as it should. And I think that I've let go of my expectations of what the writing of the book is supposed to be like, and now I'm just going to follow on my journey. That was his journey, that was his story. This is my story. So I'm going to do the best that I can to share it with you guys. And stay tuned for more Spiritual Tuesdays, more weight loss stuff. We'll be getting all of that here on the Kevin R. Weight Loss channel. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, guys.